People think the graveyard shift is easy. They think you just sit there, drink stale coffee, and watch Netflix on your phone while the city sleeps. And for the first 4 hours? Yeah, maybe that's true. But then, the black hour hits. The worst part about the graveyard shift isn't the exhaustion. It's the profound, suffocating silence. It's 3 a.m. The city is asleep. And I am the last, lonely watchman in this 15-story concrete tomb. The building is an old architectural brute from the 80s. Too much concrete, too much echo. All the overhead lights are switched off, leaving the vast marble hallways bathed only in the emergency exit signs' sickly, pale glow. It turns everything green and gray. The air conditioning unit hums, but it's a sterile, dead sound. It's a sound that reminds you how truly alone you are. I've worked this floor for 5 years. I know every creak of the structure, every faint rattle of the old pipes in the winter. I know that the elevator on the left hums a B-flat note when it settles. Tonight, though, the silence felt different. It wasn't empty. It felt heavy. It felt pressurized. Like the air inside the lobby was getting denser, pushing against my eardrums. I tried to focus on my paperwork, the daily log that nobody ever reads, but the hair on the back of my arms was standing up. It felt like the building was listening back. I was scrolling through the camera feeds, just checking the empty, echoing parking garage on monitor 4, when it happened. It wasn't loud. It was a single tiny tap. It came from the ceiling directly above me. That would be the slab separating the lobby from the second-floor mezzanine, but the acoustics in here are tricky. It sounded like it resonated from higher up, maybe the 14th floor executive suites. I immediately rationalized it. It's the building settling. Concrete expands and contracts. It's the wind catching a loose piece of duct tape in the vents. I even convinced myself it was just my own imagination playing tricks in the dead zone of 3 a.m. The mind hates a vacuum. It creates noise where there is none just to stay sane. I took a deep breath, trying to slow the sudden cold kick of adrenaline in my chest. I took a sip of my cold coffee. But then, about 30 seconds later, the second sound came. Tap, tap. This time, it was slower. It was deliberate. It wasn't random noise. It had a cadence. It was a signal. I remember feeling the blood drain out of my face, leaving my skin cold and prickly, because I knew, with absolute certainty, that no matter what the sound was, it should not have been there. The building was locked down. I had done the perimeter check at midnight. The alarms were silent. I stared at the ceiling. The silence that followed was agonizing. I zoomed in on the camera feeds for the upper floors. Monitor 8, the 14th floor hallway. It was empty, just a long, gray tunnel of carpet and closed doors. But then, did I see it? Just for a frame? A shadow stretching near the fire exit door on the screen. I blinked, and it was gone. Just static. I tried to dismiss it, picking up my phone to call the supervisor, but I froze with my thumb hovering over the dial button. What would I say? I'm hearing taps. I think it's a ghost? I'd be the laughingstock of the security firm. Or worse, they'd think I was drinking on the job. I knew I had to check, not for the job, but for my own sanity. If I sat in that chair for 5 more hours wondering what was up there, I'd lose my mind. I stood up. The leather of my chair screamed in the silence, a sharp tearing sound that made me wince. I grabbed my tactical flashlight, the heavy mag light that felt like a reassuring weight in my sweating palm. The tapping repeated again. Tap, 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 slower this time. And I realized it wasn't stationary anymore. It was moving slowly, methodically towards the main stairwell shaft. The stairwell acts like a funnel for sound. I moved away from the glow of my monitor, leaving my only source of light and safety. Stepping out from behind the desk felt like stepping off a cliff. Every step I took on the marble floor sounded like a cannon shot to my ears. No matter how carefully I tried to roll my feet, I reached the stairwell door. It's a heavy fire door. I placed my hand on the metal bar. It was ice cold. I pushed. The hinges groaned, a low, mournful sound that echoed up the shaft for 15 floors. "Hello?" I called out. My voice sounded thin, pathetic. No answer. Just the hum of the ventilation. I started to climb. I decided I had to go to the 14th. I had to see that hallway. Floor 2, floor 3. The climb was grueling. Not physically, but mentally. Every landing looked the same. Concrete walls, gray railing, emergency light. By the time I hit the 10th floor, my legs were burning, but the air had changed. It had grown colder, significantly colder, and I could smell something. It was a metallic odor, like old pennies or dried blood, and something else underneath it. Something damp and musky like wet dog or mold. I reached the 14th floor landing. I put my ear to the door. Silence. I burst through, flashlight raised, ready to confront a janitor, a stray cat, a burglar. The beam of my light cut through the darkness of the hallway. Empty. The executive suites were quiet. The carpet was pristine. I let out a shaky breath. "You're losing it, Mike," I whispered to myself. "Just old pipes." I turned to go back to the stairwell, feeling foolish but relieved. I was ready to go back down to the lobby, sit in my chair, and wait for the sun. But then the sound returned. But it didn't come from the hallway in front of me. It didn't come from the office doors. It came from the stairwell I had just exited. Tap, tap. And then, a drag. My heart hammered against my ribs so hard I thought it would bruise them. I was listening so hard my eardrums ached. It was low, wet, and heavy. It was a dragging sound. Scrape, slop, scrape. I realized with sick, freezing certainty that it wasn't coming from the 15th floor above me. It was coming from way down, from the ground floor, the lobby, where I had just been sitting 5 minutes ago. Whatever made the tapping sound hadn't gone up. It had lured me up. It waited for me to leave the desk and then it had gone down. Or maybe it was down there the whole time, waiting for me to leave my post. I was trapped on the 14th floor. The only way out was the stairwell or the elevators. I ran to the elevator bank. I mashed the call button. The light didn't turn on. The elevators were locked out for the night. I had to take the stairs. I had to go back down towards it. I re-entered the stairwell. The smell was stronger now, rising up the shaft like smoke. I moved down as fast as I dared, counting the floors. 13, 12, 11. The sound was getting louder. Drag, click, drag, click. It sounded like heavy, wet meat being pulled across the marble, followed by the click of a long nail or a bone hitting the floor. I made it to the junction near the lobby door. Floor 1. The sound stopped abruptly. The sudden, profound stillness was worse than any noise. I peered through the small glass window of the fire door, looking into the lobby. My desk was there. My monitors were glowing blue. But between me and the front exit, there was a trail. Under the pale emergency light, I could see a wide, dark smear on the polished marble. It looked like oil, or black water. It stretched from the elevators across the floor and stopped right in front of the main glass doors. And then I saw it, crouched in the shadow of the reception desk. It wasn't a person. The limbs were too long, folded in on themselves like a spider. It was pale, sickeningly pale. It was wet. It wasn't tapping. It was waiting. It turned its head. I didn't see eyes. I just saw a mouth that opened way too wide. I didn't think. Evolution took over. The lizard brain that screams, survive. I didn't use the main exit. I knew I couldn't make it back. something followed me home.